The journey to finding good usable water on our property hasn't been an easy one. It started 2.5 years ago when we hired a well witcher that was recommended in town.
Do you call it witching or dowsing or?
I call it witching. You can call it whatever you want. Engineers,
They call it
fiction.
they call it BS.
That's putting it in the good language.
As the well witcher worked around our property, he would tell me there was water there, but he would always tell me it was deep. And this worried me because I knew it was going to cost some significant money to get down to get to the water.
Now you get down, especially on a shallow well, you can dig down, depending on where you're at, you can dig down 6 feet and hit water. Anywhere.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Until you get a dry year, like
Right.
this year.
Right.
Then they're gone.
I happen to have one of these Seymour augers, which allows you to add extensions to it, and I actually was able to get down quite deep with it.
This is the hole that the well witcher said was 6 feet deep, 14 gallons per minute.
After 2 to 3 days of fighting this Seymour auger, I couldn't get any deeper, so I went into town and picked up the local excavator.
So, as far as 6 feet and 14 gallons per minute, we're not there. But I think there's something here.
I continued to find wet dirt in one particular place on my property, even in the driest months of the summer, but it just wasn't there.
Well, I tried. I dug as deep as I felt I could safely dig. I'm down 14 feet approximately. Yeah, about 14 feet.
Because our property is a hillside ranch, one particular spring my nephew and myself hiked all over the hill, and we would find these springs.
Floating in it doesn't mean we can't drink it, right, Roost? Little Giardia never hurt anybody.
No.
I then attempted to use my backhoe to push a sand point 20 feet down into the soil, and after getting down about 8 to 10 feet, the sand point snapped off. So we were just striking out. But in the back of my head, I knew there was a spot that I could dig. This spot right here, I'm thinking 12 to 15 feet is all that I'm going to have to dig. So what I'm going to do is dig down about that deep with the backhoe. And then if it leaches in like I think it's going to, I'm going to make about a 12 foot by 12 foot square down in the ground, set 2 or 3 concrete culverts down in there, and put a manhole cover on it. And then set a pump down in there. I actually found a company online that I'm looking forward to working with that has not only a pump, but they have a gauge. They have all of the things that, basically solar panels that I could put right here. I'll probably put 2 separate solar panels right here for this. And everything that I basically would need to get water up to the place. So I got another bid on the well this week, and it was actually higher than my first bid. So a well's just out of the picture, and we're now at this point where we're trying to do whatever we have to do to get living up here this fall. So here we go. This particular spot had all the evidences of being water underground. The vegetation growing around it, it just looked right. Sure enough, I get down a few feet and there's water already running into the hole. Okay, so I have dug down about 10, 12 feet, and I could see the water rushing in from all around this hole, which in every other hole I've dug, I've never ever seen that. And in the time that it took me to walk up on the hill, get a tape measure, and come back, there's probably 200 or 300 gallons of water in the bottom of this thing. So what I've now decided to do, because I know that the water's here and the water's flowing, is I'm going to go ahead and dig the hole big enough to get the culverts in. Initially I was just going to dig a trench and then see how fast the water flows. But there's no reason to do any more than what I've done as far as measuring it. So now I'm going to dig the hole, get it I want to get it squared off plenty big enough to get a 4-foot culvert down in here. I want to try and get the bottom squared off and flat. I'm still going to try and dig down as deep as I can. The edges are a little bit questionable and I don't want to move the back around too much. So there's one tree right here close by I need to pluck out of the way. But I'm just going to keep digging now that I know what I know about this. And my gut feeling is I'd come back in the morning and this thing's going to be about 90% full, which is probably as full as it's going to get. I've got the hole dug more than deep enough. You can literally hear the water running into the hole. My hope is that by letting it sit overnight, that a lot of the sediment's going to settle. I'm going to bring my my trash pump up here and pump it out 2 or 3 times, try and get a lot of that sediment out there. And I'm hoping that tomorrow I can set the concrete culverts that will be necessary to capture as much of the water as possible. But I'm guessing at the rate this is flowing in here, it's probably 15-20 gallons per minute flowing in here. So this, as long as I can figure out my pumps, pumping it up above our house, this solves our problem. This is such a big deal. I'm gonna probably focus on this for the next 3 or 4 days and get this resolved so I can have water running on the property. We're about 18 feet deep, maybe not even that deep, 16 feet deep as far as my extend-a-hoe can reach. I think what I'll do is once I get the culverts stacked in place, I'll probably take a lot of these big rocks and stack them around that, and then maybe even get a load or two of 1 to 2 inch or bigger rock to put around it. But I mean, it's literally running right down in there. It's pretty crazy to just hear it running right down in that hole. So I had an idea this was a good spot to dig. I've been looking at it for 2 years. There's wild mint, there's other things growing around it that made me think this is a good spot. And so now the next step is just capturing it and getting it into storage tanks. From the storage tanks, I'm going to let gravity provide our pressure to our house. And then I'll put ultraviolet filters, ultraviolet lights, and carbon filters, as well as just general sediment filters at the house to ensure that by the time the water gets to the house that we've got beautifully clean water. So this is really exciting. This is definitely a burden off my shoulders, but at the same time, I still got a fair amount of work to do to get this done. And to put it into perspective, I will have less than probably $1,500 tied up in this versus the $12,000 for the well, and I still would have had to buy a storage tank for the well as well. So. The next morning when I showed up at the property, this is how full it had gotten. I knew we'd solved our water problem, but the next question is how to best capture this water, pump it nearly 500 feet up the hill, store it properly where it's not going to freeze, then filter it in a way where it's going to be usable around the property. We can figure this out. I know the right filters in the right places will solve any problems with the water. This changes everything, and I can't wait to get this figured out.